Greetings, my peeps. This is the YouTube Pagan Challenge of week 15 about do you perform spells on a regular basis? So, I'm John. I'm a druid in the Reformed Druids of North America, and big disclaimer here, even though I'm a druid, I do not speak for all Reformed Druids, nor do I speak for all druids. So the thoughts and opinions expressed here are my own. So, that said, diving in, do I perform spells on a regular basis? No. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next week. Alright, thank you for putting up with me. Don't navigate away yet. Well, oh, crap. Some people did. Anyway, outside of Druidry, the closest thing I do on a regular basis, it's really more of an as-needed basis. I have this grimoire of Icelandic magical staves, and so when I do use something like this, it's usually along the lines of healing, protection, sometimes clairvoyance, sometimes dream magic. And so on a non-regular basis, note, when I made this book, when I was sewing the pages to the spine, the silk thread I used was imbued with my own blood. So that is actually, blood magic is something not to be taken lightly, and definitely something you don't want to really do on a regular basis because of the power and the implications and the hazards it can pose to you and or others. So, I mean, this doesn't pose a threat to anyone else, but I just guard this book with my life. So, as a Reformed Druid, there is no need for using magic on a regular basis in the tradition. Come on, in a traditional sense. However, there is the ritual consecration of the waters of life. And so during that consecration, it is a form of a spell, because we do ask for the entity known as Dalan ap Landu, who is unique to the Reform, to do the consecration. So, ritual chalice is one of the core tools of a Reformed Druid ritual. And we always start with spring water, no matter the time of year. And this spring water is from Wales, so it is like Celtic de facto. And it really doesn't matter what type of spirit you use, but the traditional and typical for the waters of life is whiskey, which is an acquired taste. But basically, we call upon Dalan ap Landu to descend into these waters and hallow them by his sevenfold powers, and by the 3 ways of day and the 1 of night, in a sense so that we may know his power. So yeah, that it's a sacramental whiskey becomes consecrated whiskey, and that is the closest thing that a Reformed Druid gets to a regular spell. With that in mind, the consecration can be open to interpretation. In the history of the Reform, our founder actually wrote an epistle upon after his graduation and his leaving of the Reformed Druids of North America forever. He wrote, The Book of Faith. In verse 10 he wrote, For one man, the partaking of the waters of life is a mystical sacrament of communion with a god or gods. It is an act of common fellowship with other seekers of the truth. As a priest, I do not seek to consecrate the water to any use with my words, but rather think of my words as a common means for others, who watch and listen, to consecrate the water within themselves. So, I generally interpret that as to being that for any Druid priest who consecrates these waters and calls upon this entity that only exists in the Reformed Druids to consecrate them, what really matters is that the individual who partakes consecrates the waters in their own way. So that way, it can be more spiritually significant for the individual. So, that's all I had. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next week.